Y'all, I just recorded my entire intro and I was muted. Okay, we're gonna start over. Let's do this. Welcome to day 3 of the Joyful and Peaceful Wife Challenge. I am so glad you guys are back. I am having so much fun with you guys. Oh my gosh. Please, if you have not already, go over to the Facebook group and post your homework. Have you done that yet? Because you could win the prize if you don't know. There's a prize of a full day of Voxer coaching with me. So instead of just going through all this, getting the accountability in the group, you could actually win a full day to have me walk you through this. I mean, what could be more fun than that? So go over there, post your homework. Plus, it just helps you remember the content more and you get the accountability of others in the group and me in the group. And so might as well take advantage of it. All right, there's 2 places where you get the special, and that is the Facebook group and the email list. So get on both. Now, I'm so excited for day 3 because what we're going to be talking about today is so underrated. Like, it's never talked about. And I'm like, why? Ghost town, deserts, why? Why does no one talk about this? So, we're going to do it. We're going to talk about it. Let's break the ice. Okay, did you guys get your warm cuddly drink and maybe like a notebook or something? Because you're definitely going to want to take notes today. Now that you've grabbed that, hopefully, we are going to talk about practicing. And notice I did not title this Practice Makes Perfect because none of us are perfect and we're never going to be till heaven. So practice makes progress. And we're going to talk about how you actually get progress. How do you actually practice for progress? What do you need to do? There's 3 points we're going to go over. The first one is actually practicing. Now, this is the most obvious. This is actually practicing things in your house physically and verbally, right? So you're going to practice saying things to your husband that make you feel like a peaceful and joyful wife. So I want you right now, write down on your paper this question. What words, phrases, tone of voice, and body language makes me feel like I would come across peaceful and joyful to my husband? And then I want you to journal on that. And I want you to do a little bonus homework, record yourself. You don't have to stop the video and do this right now, but just put this in the back of your mind for later. You can record yourself saying something, quote unquote, to your husband. Okay, you don't actually have to say it to him. You could just pretend you're saying it to him. Whatever makes you comfortable. You know, it's almost like the practicing your speech in the mirror thing, except you're going to record yourself on your phone and then you're going to watch it back and you're going to see how you came across and your tone and your body language and your facial expressions. That's important because it'll allow you to see what's really happening in your body externally, and we don't always have that awareness internally. And you really can't get it until you watch yourself externally. So it's super helpful. Don't worry, everyone feels cringy watching themselves, so you're not alone in that. Okay, so another thing that you can do under this category is actually serve your husband. So ask yourself this question, and remember to write this down. What things could I do for my husband to serve him that would make me feel like a joyful and peaceful wife? Now, this is subject to everyone. That's why I'm having you ask these questions for you personally and answer them yourself. So you need to ask yourself, what ways do I want to show up? How do I want to show up in my marriage? What would make me feel like I got to my goal of being a joyful, peaceful wife at the end of this challenge? So once you've done that, now you need to actually practice these things. So practice saying these things to your husband. Practice serving your husband in this way. Walk around your house with the intention of, okay, I'm going to practice being the woman I want to be. And the key to this is really to know who you want to be. So that's why we start with the journaling, because we have to envision and figure out what kind of wife we want to be, how we want to show up. Then once we have that information, then we can walk around our house practicing, pretending to be this woman essentially. And as we pretend to be that woman, we will become her. And so while it sounds funny to say we're pretending, it is almost like a kid putting on mom's high heels and walking around and like pretending or dressing up to be the mom of the house or whatever game they're playing. So we want to do the same thing with ourselves as adults, as silly as it sounds. We do want to practice. It's so important. Okay, now the second part of this is mentally practicing. So this is going to be visualizing, mentally rehearsing. Now, fun fact if you didn't know this, a lot of dancers, athletes, etc., actually do this. A lot of professionals practice in their heads before they step out onto the field or the court or the dance room or wherever it is, right? They mentally rehearse what they're going to do and they see themselves doing it the way they want it to go. Like they see themselves excelling. And that is the key for you too. So here's the thing. Physically practicing is really great, but here's the problem with that. If you're having arguments in your marriage or there's something that's triggering you, then it's going to be really hard to practice in that triggered moment. And we don't usually know ahead of time when those things are going to happen. So that's the tricky part is like if you go out and you only physically practice, you're just doing the thing, which is great. I do encourage you to do that. But if you only do that, then you're giving yourself more opportunities to miss your practice because you might be triggered by something and then you're going to go right back to default instead of actually practicing in that moment and choosing something better. So we solve that by mentally rehearsing what it would be like in those moments. Your brain does not know the difference between you thinking and visualizing something in your head versus it actually happening in the outside world. In your brain, it's all one and the same. When you're visualizing it, your brain actually thinks it's really happening, but your husband's not there to get his feelings hurt. Right. And so it can create real emotion when you imagine you and your husband fighting. You imagine your husband saying something hurtful to you or doing something you don't like. So I want you to mentally rehearse what it would be like if you showed up as the wife you wanted. So it's almost very similar to your physical practice, except you're going to take those things that you wrote and journaled out and you're going to mentally rehearse them in the hardest scenarios. So like times when maybe you guys get into fights, or you can actually think back to real fights that have happened. If you've had like arguments recently, you can think back to those and like completely relive it, but then change how you reacted in a situation. Now, for some of you, you may say, well, we don't really fight a lot. And if that's the case, then imagine whatever your scenario is. So a lot of times when I talk to clients and they aren't fighting a lot, usually what's happening is they're having shutdowns. Like one of them or both of them is shutting down and they're essentially putting a wall up and blocking the other person out. And so I want you to assess which side you're on there, if either, and decide what is the undesirable outcome that you keep seeing in your marriage, what's causing it. Go back to that scenario in your mind and play through it in the way that you would want it to happen. And do this more than once. The more you can do it, the better, right? The more practice, the more progress. So hopefully that was helpful. Now let's go into the third thing. This is the importance of celebrating your wins. So as you practice, you're going to notice that some things shift instantly and some things take more time. As you begin to see wins, you'll probably have those few first light bulb moments in the beginning where you're like, oh, yes, and you see an instant change. And then you're going to have a lot of other things that change gradually. But every time you see a win, a change, something you did even better, it could be not exactly your ideal perfect scenario of how you want it to happen, but even if it's just a little better, you can still celebrate that win. And when we celebrate ourselves and we allow ourselves to like soak in the goodness of change and improvement, and we allow ourselves to pat ourselves on the back a little bit and say, hey, you did a good job, that will reward the brain and say, okay, this is a good thing. We want to keep doing this because it feels good, because this is how we want to show up. And then that will help you to keep showing up that way, to keep improving. So often we tend to want to shut down the good stuff or the positive stuff. Like so many times we get into a habit of soaking in negative emotions and then not soaking in the positive ones and just like rushing through the positive ones out of this like underlying belief of unworthiness. So I'm not going to get into that full rant there because we're going to be talking about emotions and all the nuances of that in day 5. Okay, guys, so we've done it. We finished day 3. Hopefully you have half your homework done now and you have a good idea of how you're going to do the other half. You don't have to, obviously, you don't need to practice in the Facebook group, but just come and let us know how you want to show up. I want to see like your answers to those first 2 questions in the Facebook group for your homework, and then you could be one of the people who wins. And I'm just so excited. I'm so excited to see the change in you guys. I want to see your guys' wins in there too. So don't just celebrate by yourself at home. I want you to come into the Facebook group and celebrate with me whenever you see a win of you showing up in a way that you want to show up. So thank you for hanging around with me. You can watch that next video here.